All right, here's the thing. Today we're talking about Stoicism. Ever since I started this channel, Stoicism has always been there in the background, hovering, because to me it's the backbone of any real personal transformation. So how does a philosophy that's more than 2,000 years old, born in ancient Greece, turn into one of the most influential ideas of the modern world? How did it become a foundation for personal growth, mental health, leadership, and performance? I wanted to understand that. Why did Stoicism become such a phenomenon? So stick with me, because today I'm going to show you. I'll break down 4 key ideas that make Stoicism almost impossible to dismiss. And along the way, I'll show you how some of the most successful people alive today are quietly living by it, whether they call it Stoicism or not. But before we start, you already know the drill. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and come be part of the community. Links are in the description. Let's go. Now pay attention. Here's something most people don't realize. The most widely used form of psychotherapy in the world today is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. It was developed in the 1950s and 60s by 2 American psychologists, Albert Ellis and Aaron Beck. And where did they get the core idea? From Stoicism. Aaron Beck himself wrote in the original CBT manual that the philosophical origins of cognitive therapy can be traced back to the Stoic philosophers. In other words, millions of people are practicing Stoicism every week in therapy without knowing it. That famous prayer, "Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." That's Stoicism, pure and simple. It's basically Epictetus 2,000 years ago saying, it's not events that disturb us, but the meaning we give to them. Now let's talk about the modern explosion. In 2014, a 27-year-old marketer named Ryan Holiday released The Obstacle is the Way. He wasn't a philosopher, he was a strategist, and he did what great communicators do. He translated ancient philosophy into modern, everyday language. The book landed with the New England Patriots, who won the Super Bowl that same year. It spread through Silicon Valley. Tim Ferriss bought the audiobook rights and started promoting it on his podcast. From there, it snowballed. Jack Dorsey, founder of Twitter, openly talks about Stoicism. Naval Ravikant, one of the most respected thinkers in tech, constantly references Marcus Aurelius. CEOs at Google, GoDaddy, and Shopify keep Stoic texts on their desks. But it's not just tech. Arnold Schwarzenegger often echoes Stoic ideas about discipline and control. Keanu Reeves embodies Stoicism in the most literal way, calm, grounded, detached from fame and ego. Tom Brady has spoken about focusing only on what he can control, especially under pressure. Even in music, you see it. Jay-Z talks about emotional control and long-term thinking. Kendrick Lamar explores self-mastery, responsibility, and restraint, all core Stoic themes. The result? Since 2016, Google searches for Stoicism have quadrupled. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, written almost 2,000 years ago, became a bestseller again during the pandemic. So why now? Why Stoicism and not Buddhism, Taoism, or something else? My theory is simple. Everyone is overwhelmed. We're living through crisis on top of crisis. Economic instability, climate anxiety, political chaos. We came out of a pandemic and walked straight into war. Cancel culture, outrage cycles, pressure to perform 24 hours a day. Stoicism offers exactly what an anxious world wants to hear. Slow down. Focus on what you control. Let the rest go. It's an emotional survival manual for people who feel like they're drowning. The dichotomy of control works like a psychological life vest. But here's the danger. Not everything that shines is gold. Philosopher Nancy Sherman warns that social media has turned Stoicism into what she calls broism, a shallow, aggressive version for people who want to look strong without being honest. The Greek statue aesthetic with quotes like, "Be cold, show no emotion, be a lone wolf." That's not Stoicism. That's insecurity dressed up as philosophy. The original Stoics never preached emotional repression. They taught emotional understanding. Marcus Aurelius cried, he doubted himself, he feared failure. Meditations is essentially a private therapy journal written by an emperor at war. Seneca wrote about grief, friendship, love, and loss. He believed strength included vulnerability. Stoicism is not about becoming a robot. It's about not being ruled by your emotions without denying they exist. And this brings us to the core. True Stoicism stands on four cardinal virtues. Wisdom, knowing what is and isn't under your control. Courage, acting despite fear, do it scared. Justice, treating others with dignity and compassion. Temperance, balance, restraint, knowing when to stop. This isn't abstract theory. These are tools for living. And that's why Stoicism survived empires, wars, religions, and technology. Because in the end, Stoicism isn't about knowing, it's about living and living fully. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.